From Studio 3 at Buzz TV, it's The Horse's Mouth with Tom McManus.
Welcome back to another episode of The Horse's Mouth. I'm Steve Strum. The Horse's Mouth is brought to you by Foodies Care and the Daily News Network. I have some really cool people today talking about a wide array of things, anywhere from having liquidity events for home companies that you know the name and telling a story, trying to make things a little bit better for this weird workforce and respecting those that we love that have departed. So first and foremost, we're going to talk a little bit to Toni for Dignity Hardage Giddens. I think I said that legally correct for your PR company. You guys are funeral services and you're in the pre-planning world. I am a partner of a financial services company. Not the sexiest part of the business, but a very real part of the business. And you and I actually have had the opportunity to work together, even most recently for one of our clients that is no longer with us. Tell us a little bit about what is Dignity Hardage Giddens, what you do within the organization, and how you help families kind of transition in what can be possibly one of the toughest times of their life.
Well, I actually ended up being in this industry because I lost a lot of people in my family. And I came to realize that I didn't want other people to go through what I did, because when you prearrange, your words are written down and the contract is signed, and the company is going to take what's on that contract, move it over, and whatever your price is today is going to be there for that time. So instead of it going up and up and up, and you walk in and have to spend all this money at one time, you've already paid in advance for it, so your family's not responsible to pay that.
And, you know, as we are an aging population, I mean, I know all you guys are 29. I've been 29 for 20 years this year.
Exactly.
We're good, right? You know, this is the last year I get to start my age with a 4. You know, we are all as an aging population, right? Of course, we got our kids and sometimes grandkids now that are, you know, doing the thing. You know, it even scares us because now we're thinking about it, right? And I know you and I actually met through some of the work that I do with breast cancer as a survivor. Just so you know, ma'am, I wear pink for other people. Always, because it doesn't just happen in October. Now, I don't know about y'all, but one of my favorite lunch items, the reason and the restaurant that I had my initial interview when I started the wealth management company partnership, I had a hook and ladder down the street from this facility at a place called Firehouse Subs. And this is the guy that designed the hook and ladder, right? But no. You did the bread, you did the meat, you did it all, right? You hook and ladder.
Yeah, well, I can't claim
Yeah.
for having designed it. I have to leave that to the two brothers who started it. But I helped them along the way.
So, but okay, you tasted the hook and ladder.
Yes, I've tasted my share.
So as you are the CEO, former of Firehouse Subs, again, congratulations on the success of your restaurant, and I've been bought by a much larger entity, and now I think you're nationwide.
I had been nationwide for quite some time before that. We had grown to about 1,200 restaurants at the time that the founders opted to sell the company. And I retired 3 years ago, but pleased to see that the brand has continued to thrive. I think now they're approaching the 1,500 unit mark. So you like to think for your own ego that maybe things aren't going to go as well after you leave, but they're doing just fine.
That ham's going to be terrible because they're using the cheap stuff. So in all sincerity, I know I will always be a young man in certain eyes forever. Congratulations on that success. Congratulations on the retirement, liquidity event, all the things that happened when you all got, acquired. It was really cool. But you're also giving back. So for a gentleman who is on the other side of that, I will not be receiving the check. I'm going to be writing the check. You wrote books about this experience. Love to hear what's your take as a CEO of a brand that is a home-based. I mean, everybody knows Firehouse.
Yep.
Everybody does, right? It's a common place that people go to have lunch and all kinds of things. What are some of the things that you share in books now that you're authoring?
Yeah, well, when I wrote the history, it was really to memorialize, capture all the steps that it took. There's so many elements along the way, critical decisions. You go back to what happened in the Great Recession. Recounting those events in 2008, 2009, certainly the pandemic, and recounting that. But the most important story of Firehouse is really what we have done and continue to do on the philanthropic side through the Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation. That's my one remaining connection with the brand, is serving on the board of directors for the nonprofit. And we just passed the $115 million mark in donations to first responders. providing
Wow.
life-saving equipment. So it long ago, the brand became something a lot bigger than just selling sandwiches.
Yeah.
It was really with a purpose to help give back in the communities, and which, by the way, doesn't happen without the guests.
Right.
And their donations, buying the pickle buckets.
Yep.
We were chatting earlier about that, but all that adds up in a really big way. Saves a lot of lives. We'll never count the number of lives it saved,
Well,
but we
you
know
know,
they're being saved.
One of the things is I grew up in a red and blue family. My father was a firefighter back in the day when safety equipment wasn't maybe so safe.
Mhm.
So I know very much about that. And Foodies Care actually have an opportunity to serve at the board level to help people find food where they might not know where the next meal's coming from. There's a lot of things that you're doing, and it's not just, hey, I'm CEO of a home, of a name that everybody knows at the house. You're actually doing stuff to give back, and you're also giving back to the next generation of business owners and leadership, where I am going to go into the acquisition of a larger firm. I would definitely love to know the secret sauce. Now, one of the things that we have sitting right next to you is this little guy named Jim, who's probably about a half a foot taller than I am. And, one of the things that, we live in a very unique world now, right? We live in a world where everything is photographed, everything is digitized, and everybody wants to just sue for whatever the reason it is. You own a private investigating company, which probably speaks for itself. Tell us a little bit about, I got this Kojak thing in my head with, you got the jacket with the patches on it, smoking a cigarette next to the thing. Tell us a little bit about what you do, what your firm is. You're not chasing people around in a black van.
No.
Okay. Is it a white van?
No, we have different types of vehicles I'll take.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your company.
That's A1A Investigators in Jacksonville off of Atlantic Boulevard. Work for insurance companies, law firms, private citizens. They'll call us with whatever issue they have, whether someone got hurt at work, they want to follow up and see if they're really hurt, if they're out for a long period of time. Or child custody cases, someone's going through a legal battle. They want to see what the other parent's doing when they have the children.
So you are hired by several agencies, whether you said insurance companies. So somebody gets a car, oh, my neck, right? So you go and investigate that to make sure that it's a legitimate claim. Yeah. Not that you want to not have a legitimate claim. You got to assure it's a legitimate claim. Then you go for the lawyer going, well, actually, it was a legitimate claim. And oh, by the way, my client's, limping forever. And then, of course, if somebody, unfortunately, they don't make it in a divorce, let's say, for example, to your point, child custody stuff, you help to make sure that everybody's being honest on the playing field. So unfortunately, if they have to go down the legal road, that at least they have the facts by which that the judges, et cetera, can make a good decision.
Yeah, then they can present the evidence in court.
That's it is a very necessary thing these days, because right now we are such a litigious environment. So thank you for what you do on that, because I actually work with a lot of lawyers, and you're probably busy these days. All right.
You talked about Kojak. I think that's probably always, when I was young, my grandfather used to make me watch Kojak all the time. And
it was Telly Savalas, right? The people that are watching this are like, what the heck's a Kojak? So it's a person.
There's a place there for a lollipop joke. I don't know.
There is. When he quits
if you go out to my office, I have a picture of him on the wall, actually.
Oh, man. So, for y'all that are watching this, Kojak was a TV show that was in the 70s and early 80s that everybody over here knows, because we're all 29 years old. But for all y'all millennials, Google it, Kojak, with a lollipop, bald-headed dude. It's great. You have a lot more hair. All right, but next to you, last but certainly not least, we got Bonnie. So Bonnie, you did executive assistance for celebrities?
I did. For 25 years, I worked as the...
You did it since you were born?
Yes.
I understand.
Yeah, that's one of the way it was.
Yeah, I've been in this business 20 years. I started when I was 5.
I was a personal assistant to the actress Olympia Dukakis, who people might remember from Steel Magnolias and Moonstruck. I wrote 2 books from that experience, though. I care a lot about this workplace. So I spend my time now. I've written this book, Staff Matters, about the workplace. My goal is to go, I get hired by companies to go in and work with the leaders, with their staff. Because in 2026, I'm sure you've noticed it's a pretty complicated situation out there. No one prepared leaders for the pandemic and having a workforce that's partially at home, partially in the office, and working in a hybrid way. Certainly no one prepared anybody for AI, for the changes that are happening. So it's volatile, it feels fractured, and in the most extreme situations, too many companies have toxic work environments, bullying, and
sometimes just even basic office etiquette. right?
Yes,
It
sir.
doesn't have to be a
Yes.
library, but it's not necessarily a rock concert. And we have
Yeah.
multiple companies sometimes. You have these bullpens in there, and this guy doesn't like that guy because that guy's listening to this music, and this person comes over here, and that guy over there eats fish. And, please don't cook it in the microwave.
Well, we're talking about culture,
Yeah.
company culture, and the experts all agree that the technology in 2026 is moving far faster than our human ability to keep up with what's going on. And so that's where I come in, and I train the executive assistants, who are mostly women, trying to support the leaders of the world, who are both men and women. So the issues can seem trivial and small, but they end up being very large.
Yeah.
Because it has to do with your employee satisfaction and retention and profitability. There's a lot to it these days.
It's funny because as I'm listening to all of you guys and your stories, the thing that keeps coming up in my mind is, how much trouble am I going to be in if my staff watches this episode, right? Because it's, I'm sitting there, in all sincerity, I'm actually SHRM registered, believe it or not. I am,
you?
Society for Human Resource
Yes.
Management, and dealing with the dynamic workforce, right?
Yes.
We've got some workers that are different, phases of their life. Some they're coming from second
Absolutely.
careers. We got one that just graduated college, was an intern, and I'm doing my best to absolutely make sure from a culture perspective, and I think we do a pretty good job, but I can hear one of them right now saying, see, told you, right? And I'm like, great. I will absolutely assure you, there's one in particular that would probably want to hire you just to follow me around to make sure that I don't light myself on fire. But they hide the matches. So now if I just want to douse myself in gasoline, I'll be wet and smell funny. For yourself, sir, there's one of our Tampa team members. I can hear his name, John. He's like, yep, see, read this book if you can read. And then the last but not least, at least on any daily basis, one of the members of my team want to kill me. So hopefully not.
Nobody's getting out of here alive.
I understand the concept. Well, I'm on camera, so it can't happen right now. But it does take a village for the idiot. I'm not going to say I'm an idiot, but we absolutely have a village. And I have a wonderful village of people here that I've had an opportunity to spend some time with. Thank you all for what you do. From the culture thing, following us around, stories of a guy that knows how to make the secret sauce of a restaurant that is the name everybody knows. Last but not least, as somebody or their family are dealing with the anxiety of having a situation where they no longer have their loved one, you really can't do much to reduce some of that anxiety, but you may help them reduce other areas of anxiety that allows them to be able to process their, what's their next new reality going to be minus their loved one. So thank you all very much for joining us today. As great as you guys all are, we can't do it without these guys over here. So guys, thanks so much for joining us on another episode of The Horse's Mouth. We'll put all their stuff on our website, thedailynewsnetwork.com. If you love the website, if you love this episode, share this episode, and remember to always live with gratitude.